In this lesson, you are going to learn how to find a percent. In order to find a percent, you have to know the part and you have to know the whole. You find a percent by doing two steps. First step, since a percent is a fraction, you have to set up the fraction. How do you do that? Well, the part is the numerator and the whole is the denominator. So that's not hard. Step 2, change the fraction to a percent. Well, this is something that you already know how to do. Here's our big triangle. So you're going to have a fraction, and if you're lucky and the fraction is a common fraction, well then you're going to know immediately what the percent is. If the fraction is a non-common fraction, then you are going to have to do a little bit of work. You'll have to divide to get a decimal number, then move the decimal number to get the percent. But you know how to do these moves already. That's why you studied them and learned how to do them. Now you need these skills. Okay, so I'm going to go through the 4 computation problems from page 14 of your percent booklet, finding the percent. Please notice that I have scribbled out this instructional material. It is very unhelpful. Don't even read it. And if this is not scribbled out in your booklet, scribble it out for me. Scribble it out. Scribble out everything in the box, and then also scribble out the words before multiplying by 100% over here in the directions. And then don't read any of that. And then if you don't have a big triangle drawn in here, draw one in, because this is how you're going to think through working this problem. By what you know, what you already know about changing a fraction to a percent. Okay, so the problem number 1 is what percent of 50 is 10? Now you've learned that the number after the of is the whole. The number next to the is the part. So for this problem, whoops, can't quite, there we go. The part is 10, so I'll put a 10 in the numerator. I'm setting up my fraction, and the 50 is the whole. Now keep repeating to yourself in your mind over and over again that when you're finding a percent is a fraction, and so your first step is to set up the fraction. Okay, we just did that. Now, always reduce if you can. And in this case, we can reduce because our numerator and our denominator both end in a 0. So we can slash those 0 pairs. And our fraction reduces to 1/5. Well, that's lucky because step 2 is changing that fraction to a percent. And 1/5 is one of our common fractions, and we already know that 1/5 is equal to 20%. We're done. That's it. So 20% of 50 is 10. Now let's go to the next problem on row 1, right here. 18 is what percent of 36? Okay, we're trying to find the percent. A percent is a fraction, so we have to set up the fraction. And it looks like the 36 is the whole. That's the number that's coming after the of. And it looks like the 18 is the part. That's the number that's next to the is. All right, so 18 on the top and 36 on the bottom. There's our fraction. And now we reduce. Looks like 9 will divide into the top and bottom number. So 18 divided by 9 is 2, 36 divided by 9 is 4, and 2/4 reduces to 1/2. That's lucky because 1/2 is one of our common fractions, and we know that 1/2 is equal to 50%. Now we're done. So you're always lucky if your fractions are a common fraction or reduced to a common fraction, because then you don't have to do any computation to change the fraction to a percent. Let's go to row 2 now. On row 2, I have $5 is what percent of 20? Okay, we need to find the percent. A percent is a fraction, so we need to set up the fraction first. The 20 is the whole, that's the number coming after the of. The 5 is the part, that's the number next to the is. So part is 5, whole is 20. Now we reduce, if we can, and we can here. We can divide by 5 on the top and the bottom. 5 divided by 5 is 1, 20 divided by 5 is 4. We are in luck again, because 1/4 is another one of our common fractions, and we know that 1/4 is equal to 25%. Okay, one more. The second problem on row 2 is what percent of 80 is 30? Okay, to find the percent, we have to set up the fraction. And in this case, the of number is the 80, the is number is the 30. So the part is 30 and the whole is 80. Now we can reduce right away because we have a top and bottom number ending in a 0. So we get the fraction 3/8, which is a little bit unfortunate because that is not one of the common fractions. So we are going to have to do a little bit of work, changing the fraction 3/8 to a decimal number by division, and then moving the decimal point in our decimal number over 2 places and adding the percent sign. Okay, so change this. The top number goes inside the box. Whoops, sorry. The top number goes inside the box. I'm just going to have to make this bigger. And the outside number, I'm going to add 2 zeros because I know that I'm going to be changing this decimal number to a percent in just a moment. 3 will not divide into 30, but I'm not concentrating. 3 divides into 30 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30. So I have a remainder of 6. 8 will divide into 60 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. 57, 58, 59, 60. So I have a remainder of 4, which I will put in the numerator of a fraction. The outside number goes on the bottom. Notice that 4/8 reduces to 1/2. Now I've got my decimal number, and I need to move my decimal point in order to turn that decimal number into a percent. Move the decimal place over 2 places. 37 with a decimal point at the end is just the whole number, 37. Tack on my little fraction, and I end up with a mixed number percent. 37.5%. Or the answer could be expressed as 37.5%. So either one of these answers would be correct. I'm going to stop the lesson here.